All right, guys, we are going to be reacting to China's biggest mega projects completing in 2025. Thank you so much for the support, guys. We're going to simply jump in here and see what is going on, guys. Give me 1 second here. Let's just move here. Very good. All right, so let's jump in. Let's see what's going on.
If you think China's construction boom has already peaked, then you are wrong. It hasn't.
There we go.
In fact, some of its biggest and most ambitious megaprojects are finally reaching the finish line in 2025. We're talking about canals carved through mountains, trains
Okay, what happened here?
crossing beneath rivers, and high-altitude railways stretching across one of the most dangerous terrains on Earth. Some of these projects were launched 5 years ago, others over a decade in the making. But now, in the final stretch of China's current 5-year plan, the deadlines are approaching, and the pressure to finish is higher than ever. These aren't just domestic upgrades. They're the kind of infrastructure plays that are designed to shift trade routes, influence global markets, and tighten control over some of the most sensitive and strategic regions in Asia. And the scale? Unmatched. We're talking about thousands of kilometers of track, water tunnels large enough to fit cargo ships, and power stations that can store more electricity than many small countries even consume. So the question is, what exactly is getting finished in 2025? What do these projects mean for China and for everyone else? If you zoom out for a second, 2025 is not just a random year. It's the final year of China's current 5-year plan. A state-led roadmap that's been guiding everything from energy policy to infrastructure builds since 2021. These plans are how China sets national goals, and more importantly, how it makes sure those goals actually get built. The 14th 5-year plan, which runs from 2021 to 2025, prioritized 3 major things: securing domestic supply chains, expanding clean energy, and building infrastructure that connects inland regions to global markets. Not just railroads and highways, but massive, coordinated networks. The amount of money behind this push is hard to overstate. Infrastructure and
How in the hell does China has all this money to just make this? Are you guys wonder that?
investment since 2021 has topped $1.3
A lot of money.
trillion. In many ways, this is China trying to solve several problems at once. How do you move goods faster without relying so much on ports like Shanghai or Guangzhou? How do you store renewable energy when the sun isn't shining or the wind isn't blowing? And how do you maintain tight control over sensitive regions like Tibet and Xinjiang while also claiming the economic benefits of connectivity? That's what this final year is all about. Finishing the systems that are supposed to answer those questions. Let's start with a project that's quietly transforming southern China's trade routes, one massive canal, built almost entirely by hand and finishing this year. In Guangxi province, one of China's most ambitious transport projects is entering its final phase. It's called the Pinglu Canal. And once it's operational in late 2025, it will become the first major canal China has built since the Sui dynasty, over 1,000 years ago. And this isn't just a shallow irrigation ditch. This canal is being built to handle 5,000-ton cargo ships. The total budget is projected at around $10 billion. Construction officially began in August 2022, and the goal from day one has been clear: connect the Xinjiang River system, which flows through resource-rich inland provinces like Guizhou and Yunnan, directly to the Beibu Gulf, which opens into the South China Sea. In practical terms, that means creating a shortcut for cargo that currently has to be hauled hundreds of kilometers by truck or rail to reach a major port. Provinces like Yunnan and Guizhou produce huge amounts of raw materials: coal, bauxite, cement, agricultural exports. But moving that cargo to ports has always depended on trucks or rail lines, both of which are slower and more expensive than water transport. The Pinglu Canal is meant to fix that by turning rivers into a cheaper, high-capacity shipping route. Once operational, it is expected to handle up to 100 million tons of cargo per year. That would make it one of the highest capacity inland waterways in the country, and a major asset for moving bulk goods like coal, grain, and construction materials from inland factories to international markets.
Wow.
Technically, it's one of the most complex civil engineering projects underway in China.
No way.
The route crosses multiple
That was a real picture?
elevation zones, which is why engineers are building 3 large ship locks to raise and lower vessels. These locks aren't just big, they're among the largest in the world in terms of lift height and width. What makes it even more unusual is how it's being built. Unlike many megaprojects dominated by tunnel boring machines and prefabricated steel, the Pinglu Canal has relied heavily on manual labor. Tens of thousands of workers have been digging, dredging, and moving earth day and night in one of the largest earth-moving efforts currently happening anywhere in the world. The scale of the construction effort is massive. At its peak, more than 35,000 workers were on site.
Wow.
Excavation has moved over 340 million cubic meters of earth and rock, and dozens of bridges, culverts, and control systems are being built in parallel. Right now, the structural work is over 80% complete. The next steps are lock system installation, dredging, and trial operations. If everything stays on schedule, the Pinglu Canal will begin full operations by the end of this year, opening a new artery for China's inland economy and reducing dependence on traditional coastal choke points.
That's the power. That's the power right there. When you have so much resources that you don't really have to rely on a lot of people, and that's where the strength really comes in. It's just put you in a position where you don't have to rely on other people's material.
Center of trade inland, which is exactly what Beijing wants. And on the other side of the Pearl River, China is finishing something that goes under the water, and it's much faster than any cargo ship. If you've ever looked at a map of southern China, you might have noticed something strange. 2 of the region's major cities, Shenzhen and Jiangmen, are barely 100 kilometers apart.
But
there's no direct high-speed rail line, and crossing between them has always been slower than it should be. Now, China is fixing that, not with a bridge, but by tunneling underneath the Pearl River estuary. The Shenzhen-Jiangmen high-speed railway is one of the most complex short-distance rail projects China has taken on. It's only about 116 kilometers long, but the reason it's so hard is because it cuts directly under the Pearl River estuary, one of the busiest and deepest waterways in the region. Construction began in 2020, and this hasn't been a simple dig. The Pearl River estuary has shifting sediments, high water pressure, and complex geological layers. To manage that, engineers used one of the world's largest slurry shield tunnel boring machines, custom-built for this project. At the heart of this line is the Sichuan Tunnel, a 13-kilometer submarine tunnel buried deep beneath the riverbed. It's one of the longest and widest undersea rail tunnels in China, designed to handle trains running at 350 kilometers per hour. Now you might ask, why not just route the rail line around the water? That's because that would add hours to the journey. By tunneling straight under, the new connection will cut travel time.
You don't need to build a tunnel. By simply just doing traditional bridges, it will take care of it.
Between Shenzhen and Jiangmen to just 30 minutes, linking 2 fast-growing parts of the Greater Bay Area. But this isn't just about passengers. It's part of a much bigger plan to integrate the Greater Bay Area, a cluster of 11 cities, including Hong Kong, Macau, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen, home to over 86 million people and producing around $2 trillion in annual GDP. The new line will also connect to China's national high-speed rail grid.
Look at that system. My God, bro. Look at that system. What do you guys think about that? Look at that. Look at that. That is insane. I'm sorry. Let me make sure that we can just... There we go. There we go. Here we can... There we go. That's an insane system. Look at that. Huh. Wow.
West mobility across Guangdong province. That means faster connections for people, and just as importantly, faster logistics for factories, warehouses, and ports. As of now, tunneling is complete and track laying is over halfway done. What's left is system integration, power, ventilation, safety monitoring, and high-speed signaling. Testing is expected to begin in Q3 this year. The estimated total cost of the project is around $5.6 billion, making it one of the most expensive high-speed rail projects in Guangdong on a
but that's not bad. Compared to the United States, that's not bad.
per kilometer basis, largely due to the underwater segment. This might not make global headlines, but if you're trying to turn the entire Greater Bay Area into a single economic engine, this is exactly the kind of infrastructure that makes it work. But while that's fast, it's still powered by electricity. And that's where China's next project comes in. A power station so big, it stores more energy than some countries can even produce. Batteries aren't just for phones and cars. China is finishing one in 2025 that's big enough to stabilize entire cities, and it doesn't look
China is something else. I'm telling you, China is something
anything
else.
like a battery. The Luxi pumped storage power station is located in Hunan province, and it's designed to store and release up to 3.6 gigawatts of power. That's more output than the Hoover Dam. Not continuously, but in short bursts when it matters most. It's what's known as a pumped hydro plant, and it works like this. When there's extra electricity on the grid, especially from wind or solar, the plant uses that surplus to pump water uphill into a reservoir. Then, when demand spikes, like in the evening or during heat waves, it releases the water downhill through turbines, generating power instantly. Unlike a regular hydroelectric dam, pumped storage doesn't rely on river flow. It's a battery made of water and gravity, with no lithium, no chemicals, and no risk of supply chain disruptions. So why is this such a big deal? It's because China is adding renewable power faster than anyone else.
And I think actually China is what on the top. It's the top consumer when it comes down to solar panels.
Energy, especially across multiple time zones and remote provinces, is a constant challenge. Projects like Luxi are how they plan to smooth that out. Construction began in mid-2021 with a total investment of around $4.8 billion. It's part of a national push to build flexible backup systems as China moves deeper into wind and solar energy. It is built between two artificial reservoirs at different elevations, with underground penstocks connecting them. The vertical drop is over 400 meters, giving it enough force to power all 6 reversible turbines in the lower station. Each one can ramp up from idle to full power in less than 30 seconds. Renewable power generation is intermittent. Solar peaks in the afternoon. Wind can drop off with no warning. Without storage, grids have to fall back on coal or gas when renewables can't meet demand. That's exactly what Luxi is designed to prevent. Once operational, the station will be able to generate 6.6 billion kilowatt hours per year, enough to meet the annual electricity needs of about 4.5 million households. It also strengthens the central China power grid, giving operators more control over load balancing across several provinces. This project is one of dozens of pumped storage plants under construction across China, part of a broader strategy to stabilize the national grid and cut peak reliance on fossil fuels.
So that means the pollution might go lower.
In other words, while flashy solar farms and wind turbines draw attention, it's stations like Luxi that make it possible to keep the lights on, even when the weather doesn't cooperate. But while this one hides in the hills, the next project is right in the open, a tech hub with government backing and a mission to challenge Silicon Valley. In most countries, you wouldn't expect a major tech hub to show up in a mountainous province better known for farming and mining. But China doesn't always follow that logic. In Guizhou province, deep in the interior, a massive digital infrastructure zone is being finished. It's called the Guiyang Big Data Valley, and by the end of 2025, it's expected to become one of the country's largest centers for cloud computing, AI training, and data storage. Construction of the core data cluster began in 2015, but the scale-up really accelerated after 2020, when Beijing included it in a broader Digital China initiative. So why build it here? The answer is power, land, and climate.
Mm.
Guizhou is cooler than coastal provinces, which reduces the cost of cooling giant server halls. It also has
Oh.
access to abundant hydropower, which helps data center operators meet energy efficiency targets. And land costs here are a fraction of what they'd be in Shenzhen or Shanghai. It's no longer just experimental. Some of China's biggest tech firms, including Alibaba Cloud, Tencent, Huawei, and China Telecom, now have facilities here. Together, they're building out over 4 million servers worth of
Wow.
capacity, running everything from e-commerce backends and streaming platforms to voice recognition models and financial data processing. The total public and private investment so far has exceeded $7 billion and counting. Much of that has gone into power supply stabilization, high-speed fiber optic links, and redundancy systems to guarantee 99.999% uptime. But this isn't just about market demand. Guiyang has also been selected as a pilot zone for digital governance, which includes projects on smart city management, AI-based traffic control, blockchain-based records, and surveillance integration. It's a place where both commercial and state-run systems are tested before being scaled up nationwide. In 2025, another round of major facilities will come online, including a national-level AI model training center and China's largest edge computing lab. These are designed to push the limits of real-time processing for applications like autonomous vehicles and industrial robotics.
Yo.
But while this project is about bytes and code, the next one is
The United States, the Western world, we are behind. We are so behind, man. It's not even a joke, man. These people, and some of you guys were saying in the comment section, what's the reason? It's evidence. It's the Western world and the United States. We're so behind, so unfocused. It's insane.
all about altitude, engineering, and geopolitics, and it's heading straight into the Himalayas.
Look at that.
Out of all the megaprojects China expects to complete in 2025, this one is easily the most extreme. The Sichuan-Tibet Railway is designed to connect Chengdu, the capital of Sichuan Province, to Lhasa, the capital of Tibet, through more than 1,900 kilometers of high-altitude terrain. The most difficult portion, running from Yan to Ningqi, is expected to be completed by late 2025. This section alone covers over 1,011 kilometers, crossing deep valleys, fault zones, and unstable slopes at altitudes that approach 3,000 meters. More than 90% of the route consists of tunnels and bridges. That includes the Yigong Tunnel, which spans over 42 kilometers and passes through unstable rock formations that have collapsed in the past.
They just simply don't stop, y'all. They simply don't stop.
Engineers have had to reinforce tunnel walls with advanced pressure sensors and install automatic ventilation systems to deal with the altitude. Construction began in November 2020 with an estimated budget of around $44 billion, making it one of the most expensive railway segments China has ever built. Once completed, it will cut travel time between Tibet and the rest of China, turning what used to be a multi-day trip into just 13 hours.
That's a lot.
That's a huge deal for moving goods, tourists, and emergency supplies. But this isn't just
money. That means that money can travel faster.
About terrain. The line passes close to Arunachal Pradesh, a region claimed by both China and India. Officially, it ends in Ningqi, which sits less than 40 kilometers from the line of actual control, LAC, the de facto border between the two countries. China refers to this project as a development initiative, but in New Delhi, it's seen differently. Indian defense analysts have flagged the railway as a potential dual-use corridor. That means it's not just for tourists or cargo, it could also be used to move troops, fuel, and equipment quickly through rugged areas that were previously only accessible by winding roads. And given that the region has already seen deadly border clashes, most recently in 2020, when troops engaged in deadly hand-to-hand combat in the Galwan Valley, west of this line. Once it connects to the already operational Lhasa-Ningqi line, high-speed trains will be able to run from Sichuan deep into eastern Tibet. But the work doesn't end there. The full Chengdu-Lhasa line is expected to be finished by 2030, completing a high-speed rail link across the entire Tibetan plateau. Once complete, it will be one of the highest, most complex, and most geopolitically sensitive railways in the world. Together, these projects show what state-driven development can look like when the goal isn't just economic growth, but long-term leverage. From Beijing's point of view, 2025 isn't just a deadline, it's a milestone.
It's the way to just handling this with care. I mean, you know, I haven't seen anything like this in the Western world. Nothing. Not even Eastern Europe. It's just the collective mindset. It's in the same. It serves in the same place. It's in the same place. Amazing. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I would love to hear your guys' opinions. In the meantime, guys, I'll see you next one. I'm out.